All right, people. I'm stoked to have repeat guest Brady Hutchins back on today. I'm not going to go through our full rigmarole of talking through, everybody, but I just wanted to shout out First Form for our supplements and our New Year's 2-week challenge that we're kicking off here. Today is January the 2nd. We're officially starting it January the 6th. You'll get a month free in our app and then a 2-week challenge included in that. We're super stoked to help you guys look, move, and feel your best into 2025. But without further ado, Brady, dude, this is super, super long overdue. I'm really, really stoked to have you back. I feel like our first conversation, we could have talked for fucking hours. Tell me what's new, man. How are you? How are things? I want to hear about, I got a list of things I'm going to ask you about, but I want to hear it from you. Like, how are things, man?
Good, man. I'm excited to be here too. I think we did actually talk for like hours after we had a good that was a good first call. A lot of things, man. I think before we were High Rocks was in the crosshairs there. So finished that up. Obviously your audience had followed along with that a little bit, and then I basically rolled right into my bodybuilding prep after that. So that was beautiful, man. Beautiful experience. That just wrapped up. So I had the first show, my first show ever in end of October. And I was actually just talking about this today. It was funny because it was like genuinely for me. I do a lot of things for other people or to with the hopes of inspiring people or to like set an example. And this is like one of the first times that it was genuinely for me to push myself. And I wasn't thinking about like what people would think of me or if I won or anything like that. It was like I knew there was a higher standard that I could accomplish, and I wanted to give myself no choice but to do that. And so I think part of that was the reason why it went so well for me. But ended up winning the entire show. I know with like 4 medals. Won the overall.
Your neck got tired,
And
bro.
it was crazy, dude. My neck was tired. I was like, I came off. It was like total shock. I was like, what just happened? And then I was like, rolled into like 2 interviews. I was just like, I didn't even have time to think. It was crazy. But it was cool. It was like such a different experience because you're like backstage. There wasn't any mirrors, so you see other people and you're like, they look good. You're like in your own head, like, all right, I'm gonna do my routine. I'm gonna stay focused. But you go up on stage, you don't really know what you look like compared to everyone else. Like, there's no concept of comparison. Like, so you have to be just like very focused in on your process. And then after, it wasn't until after that prejudging, I went out and I got to see my family and I saw like their videos that they took. And so that was the first time that I saw what I looked like up there compared to everyone else. And that was when I like felt confident. I was like, all right, that made me stoked to get back up there. So I had that experience, which was really cool. It was about like 3 months of like really dialed in with food, with steps, with recovery, with training, like everything to a T. And you have the sacrifice that comes with that. You learn a lot. You learn how like dependent we are on food as like a coping mechanism. You start to notice like, oh yeah, I'm feeling stressed out or I'm feeling this, and I'm starting to feel like I'm starting to want the things that I can't have. Where I would never really experience that normally. And then so after that, because I won, I qualified for nationals, which was obviously, like I said, not even on my radar. I was just like, let's do the show. Let's have fun. Let's have this experience. So then it was like, well, you might as well go do that. So went out to Virginia 2 weeks following that show and got to be a part of nationals, which is like the Super Bowl. That was just like the best of the best. So definitely was humbling experience coming off of that, which was cool. I went into it with no expectations, but to see the level that those guys were at was unbelievable. It was really cool, and it just showed me I belonged there, and I got very clear feedback of what it would take for me to actually compete, to actually like get a medal there and actually see a future there. And so again, I was talking about that recently as well of like you have to go into these things in your life with that mindset of it's not really failure. Like you're just getting the answers that you need in order to get to the level that you need to be. And if you never actually do that, if you never actually be the man in the arena, if you never actually get out there, then you're never going to find those answers. And then you're just in your head and you just never get to actually get to the potential that you have. So it was pretty cool because I got like two very different experiences from like the highest of the highs to like this totally just being exposed to like the best of the best in a very like short period of time. So it was a lot to take in, but that was pretty much how my year wrapped up, and then got to enjoy the holidays. After that, I kind of chilled out a little bit from being so dialed in. So I got to really just enjoy the holidays, be with the family, be present. And I'm excited for this next year, man. So excited for, guys like us to continue to collaborate, continue to share the story, share the vision, and just see what's possible.
Dude, yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there. I feel like you just kind of told the whole story. I was gonna give a bunch of like points because I knew obviously what had happened based on kind of seeing it and watching it from a third party, but I was like, man, I definitely want to hear about how it was. And you know, I don't know, and this is maybe just coming from an outside perspective, so you can totally correct me if I'm wrong, but like prior to doing this bodybuilding show, prep, this first one here, like that was not like your like niche thing, right? Like you were kind of like whole health, I would call, like I would say for the most part, like, jack of all trades, master of none, like high
Mm-hmm.
rocks, marathons, you've always been obviously a fit dude.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw you like really kick into the bodybuilding scene, I was like, damn, dude, this dude is getting after it, man. And it was I will say too, like genetically, I think that you're gifted. I think you've got a really good leg up on a lot of people in the bodybuilding space, which is great. But there's no denying the amount of work that you kind of put in to kind of make that stuff happen. So I would love to hear a little bit more from you, like what changed, like your training before, and especially like high rocks training and marathon training. Obviously, like I do a lot of that speed work, functional movement stuff. Like what changed when you had to go into this, jump into the deep end with the Bubbas down there in Vegas to really kind of dial in. And you can feel free to shout those guys out too, because I know how important they were kind of on the journey as well.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely had like my journey has definitely been very bodybuilding focused. Like my I just never competed. I never like put myself through that whole process. But like from the very start, my motivation was self-conscious, tired of being skinny, wanting to
Ripped
get
like
bigger.
Rambo, dude. You just want to look like He-Man.
Yeah, like I wanted to feel good in the way that I looked, and um from always being the smallest, and I played basketball too, so everyone is bigger there too. So it's just like you just get tired of always being the skinny kid. And so that was like, so I had a much different journey where a lot of people that motivation comes from trying to lose weight. I think that's more of a common thing into the fitness space. And so mine, it's a little bit harder to relate to. A lot of people, you get the whole thing of like, oh, I wish I could just eat whatever I wanted. And I'm like, you don't know like how hard this, like pain and self-consciousness and that feeling, it's all relative. So it's like, it would always really frustrate me when people would try to compare that. So I was always training in that style. And then I just kind of got to this point where I was like, I felt like I was going through the motions for a few years because you do the same thing for so long. And it's like, it's so repetitive and it's hard to like find that motivation after being in that repetitive cycle for, I was like 10 years in, I'm now like 15 years consistent training. And so that was when I was like, I'm going to do a show. That's going to be like the way that I can really like just fully surrender, like full commit. And once I started on that process, just got my motivation going. And that's when I got like kind of in the mix with some of the BPN. I was doing some like ambassador stuff for them. And so there was a lot of that hybrid athlete type training. So I was exposed to it and I was like, you know what? Like I could do that. And so that was when I was like, all right, I'm gonna do the marathon. And then I wouldn't have done High Rocks if you didn't challenge me to do it. So that's on you. You were like,
That
let's
was,
do High Rocks. Like, I could, okay.
dude, I was in your backyard, bro. I was like, you better come out here.
I
I'm
know.
gonna drive my happy ass all the way down there. You better come do it with me.
So it was like those kind of just popped up. And then I was like, okay, I got to like reel it back in. I got to finish off like what I came here, what I started. And I would say like what changed, it's really just like in terms of getting into that shape, like in terms of actually making that a reality, it was it didn't have a lot to do with the training. It was very much the difference was because I would say my training, when you're on that low, when you're that fatigued, when you're not fueled as well as you're used to being fueled, like your training sessions, even if you push yourself, even if you have training partners and do all the little things, you're just you're not going to be able to train with the intensity and strength that you've been in when you've been in a surplus. So really like the difference was the just extreme diligence with your nutrition, and then the extreme just consistency with cardio. I think those two things is what like I didn't miss. I was tracking everything I was eating. I was hitting everything where it needed to be. I would hit my cardio. Like there would be days where I was like I would train in the morning and I would be like with clients all day, and then I would be like I still have to do like 50 minutes of low intensity cardio, and I would go to 24-hour after that and like go like that's the and it's something that it's probably not something that most people are willing to do, but that was what I had to do to get to like 5% body fat. If you can do a variation of that, that's a lot more doable and feasible. Like it's pretty, I would say it's like an equation to, if you put in this amount of work and you are this consistent with what you're putting into your body, like getting to 10 to 12% body fat, I think is pretty realistic for most people. And what I did was just like an extreme example of that, I would say.
Yeah. And who'd you work with? Give those guys a shout out, dude, because they got you ready to rock, man.
Yeah. So it was really cool actually. So that was when I initially started this. I reached out to my guy, Chad Morgan. His company is Beyond Built. And I actually reached out to him partially because of that I wanted a little bit more accountability with myself. But I really liked the community aspect that he had a big emphasis on with his coaching and with his community. And so this is something I would recommend to anybody listening, is like find the people that do things better than you and find ways to surround yourself with them. And so, you know, when you can have a different lens with what you look at, like Blaze and I go to a lot of retreats where we're around different coaches who are giving us information to help us grow as people and grow our business. But I'll tell you what, like me, and I know him as well, we don't look at it just as, oh, what is this information that we're getting? I'm looking at how is he running this event? What are the little things that he has to be doing to make this event a positive experience for us? Because I know that I want to be doing similar things as well. So there's so many opportunities that we can have to gain information and gain experience through other people. And so that was a big reason why I did that. And then we chose that Vegas show as like a team show. So we had like, I think we had like six or seven people all compete. And so to be all there at the same time and like have training sessions together and the couple of days leading up was so cool. It was so cool. Everyone had different journeys of what made them start and why they were competing. And there's no like there's no two that are the same. And so like you see how you can relate to people, and then you see how you can learn about their story and what made them want to do it. And so that was really cool to be a part of that and to like just have a community with you. So, you know, it's something that you can't put like a price on of just how much that matters and how much that impacts the outcome.
Yeah. So tell me, like, what did a normal week look like when you pop in? Let's talk through like a normal week early on. So you signed up for the show when, and then like give me a little bit of a timeline. Like, hey, I signed up on X date. My training and was like for this block was this, for this block was this, and this is what a normal week would look like in each of those. I'm curious, and I'm sure other people who have thought about doing a show would love to know kind of what that looks like in each kind of phase and what the timelines kind of look like.
So I initially said, hey, I want to compete in a show. And then the conversation went to, okay, we don't need to choose the date yet. We just need to build. We need a solid, long, consistent phase of just putting on muscle and not thinking about anything else. So I essentially had like a full year of that. All of 2013 was that. And then I ended 2013 when I did the marathon. And that kind of like kickstarted
2023 or 2023. Yeah, you said 2013 twice, and you got me all fucked up, man. 2023. Yeah.
2023. Yeah, I'm almost
2013, man. You've been training for forever for this thing, bro, dog.
I honestly have been. I have been bulking since 2013. But
good.
But so 2023. Then once 2024 rolled around was when we were like, all right, let's start to like nail this down. And then early in the year, we decided on that October show. So I still had a long time, and that was why I was like, well, I'm going to kind of start to get into more of a dieting phase mindset. So if I were to do a half marathon and like high rocks, that's not going to derail me too much because I do need to like start upping cardio and stuff anyway. So that was why I was like, okay, this is cool. This is still like in alignment with what I need to do. And then then I had like probably, I think I only trained for high rocks for like 6 weeks. So that was like pretty short
Let
little
it rip,
blip.
dude. Let it run, man.
You just let it rip. You know, I underestimated how much the running would affect.
Dude, I think I told you, and quick sidebar, is I signed up for Miami in April, and my training this time is way different from before, where it's like there's a lot more emphasis on the run, because the run is, you know, although the other parts are like flashy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you spend like 30 to 35 or 40 minutes just running.
Yeah.
And like, if you can't do that and you can't perform there, then like the whole rest of your race is shot. Like people that do that fast, and we watched, or I think you watched with me when the pro guys came out, bro.
Yeah.
they're running like 5-minute, 5:30 mile pace the entire
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
Oh, you just did 80 burpee broad jumps. How about you go run at a 5:30 pace for a little over half a mile? Like, dude,
Yeah.
out of control how they can do that. So that for me has been like I've been doing a little bit of playing with that
Mhm.
that load and that cardio because like you know zone 2 work, interval sprints, like all these things that kind of help my ability to perform in that part because you and I both know like the load, the picking up the weights, the skis, the ergs, like you'll you're probably not going to be that much faster than anybody else there, but the delta really comes in their run. Like,
Mhm.
is anybody really going to erg faster than a 2-minute pace and then be able to run into all the rest of that stuff? Probably not drastically different. But
Yeah.
if you can run a couple seconds quicker than people, you'll start to kind of catch them. But yeah, sorry to totally derail you.
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit more about
Yeah.
your kind of training phases moving into
So
24.
once I finished up High Rocks was when I was like, all right, now it's getting real for the show. So that was when it got very focused. Really like kind of changed up the plan and everything. So I was on nothing really changed too much. I've been on like a 5-day training split where it's I would have a it was a push pull lower and then I had an upper lower. Oh no. I had two lowers. I had upper lower. I don't even remember. My thing changed now, so I'm all messed up. But I
All I
had
know
two.
is that you're doing the dumpy training now for everybody, which
Oh
I'd be
yeah, bro.
remiss to not let you
We're,
talk about that at the end here.
yeah,
But keep going, keep going.
we're getting thick over here. So I had 5 days training. Um and then it just from there became very dependent just on the feedback, the data, the biofeedback from week to week. So I would have low intensity cardio that like started at just walking incline treadmill like 20 minutes a day. So it was like super mellow, just nothing crazy. And then I would be on I think I started my calories when I was like starting to approach that cut at like 2600. And
And
then
when in the training phase was this? So like, hey, you decided you're gonna get dialed in after High Rocks, which I think was March. Is
it
that
was
March of
May.
24?
It was May.
May?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been May.
So May
So
to June.
So sometime in June, you start to shift from bulk to, hey, adding in some low intensity cardio. And then also now we need to start really, really getting my nutrition dialed in to be like, you know, accounted
Mhm.
for and understood. So how did you get to 2,600 calories? Like, for people that don't know, and I assume that people that listen to this, most of them are health people, but
Mhm.
for people that don't know, like, how do you land on this number? Like, where did you get that from? Where did your macro split kind of come from, and kind of your workings with Chad?
Yeah, so I had been like on a bulk for essentially the whole time. And then it was like before High Rocks, it was a lot of the training was, as you know, like pretty you're burning a lot of calories with that. So I was like, I needed the fuel. So once we shifted in out of that, um, I forget where we kind of found a rough maintenance. I think just based on what my intake was before, and then we just tracked it for like a couple weeks and just saw where the fluctuations were, and we saw that I was pretty steady. So we were able to find that, and that's really what I would say for people like looking to you want to really find that your baseline. You want to find your maintenance before you go and like say, all right, I'm going to go into a cut. I'm going to go like 19,000 calories because that's what this guy did and he lost a bunch of weight, because you don't know what his metabolism is and what he's expending. There's so many factors. So like you can just there's you cannot go wrong with just tracking and paying attention to what's happening and then making micro adjustments from there. So
Yeah, and how did you guys do that? initially. Now, like we tell people over here, and you talked about a couple terms that I think are important to define for people. It's like maintenance calories is like, hey, we call that like equilibrium. Like
Mm-hmm.
you eat the same amount as you expend. Those numbers are, all equal, meaning you should not gain or lose any weight. You can obviously change and have a body recomp in that as well. But for the most part, like those things are going to stay the same. And if I'm 200 pounds on day one and I have maintenance for 3 weeks, I'm going to be 200 pounds at the end of that 3 weeks. Um, and then you were talking earlier about being in a bulk. So typically that is a calorie surplus.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a calorie surplus, that same 3 week period, let's say your example was 2,600 calories was your maintenance level. You would be eating, 3,000 calories or so in that amount of time. And then maybe in 3 weeks, based on who you are and your specific situation, you went from 200 pounds to 205 or 200 pounds to 202 or whatever that kind of looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, the opposite being true, where if you're somebody who's in a calorie deficit, you're going to be expending more than you're taking in, thus leading to a cut, which then instead of your 2,600 calories, maybe you're 25, 24, 23, or stepping it down. And then you'll be losing that weight. So at the end of your 3 week period, maybe you're 198, 195, something like that. Is that kind of
Yeah.
jiving with what you guys kind of did,
Yeah.
or what you started with at least?
Yeah, it was exactly. And for me, I listened to my coach. I didn't do any of that work, and that that's why we have that. And I really realized the benefit of having a coach with this, um, more so than I realize, like, how much more of the psychology is behind it when you're having these days. And for me, I'm more advanced in my journey, so it's all relative. But if someone's just coming in for the first time and having a coach for the first time, and you have all of these psychological factors coming in of self-doubt and fatigue and stress, and you're putting yourself through something that you've never done before, having an outside influence to say, hey, this is the plan, stick to the plan, trust the process, you're safe, everything is good, I'm here for you, gives you so much more trust and makes you not waver. And so what my experience was more extreme, but for me, that could have been the same, as what someone would feel like just coming in for the first time. So we found we found a baseline, and then we made very small drops. And that's what I would, again, there's no benefit to doing a huge aggressive cut. You want to do it slow and steady, because one, in my circumstance, maintaining as much muscle as possible is very important. It wouldn't do me a whole lot of good to lose a bunch of weight, but have a lot of that be muscle when I'm trying to come on stage with as much definition and size as I can. So being able to drop the calories slowly, but the whole time we kept the protein up like over 200 grams. So I was taking in a lot of protein, and fats and carbs are dropping slowly. And so I was able to maintain a good amount of muscle. From there, obviously fat is it's going to end up being a very low fat diet, because I needed as much carbs as I could to like really fuel myself through my training. I would have to be kind of strategic with that. So getting into like meal timing, and being smart with like, okay, I want to get as much out of this session as I can. So I need to really prioritize when I'm going to have my meal, getting a good amount of my carb source in before that. And then I'll kind of bank more of my protein for after that. Just felt good for me. And, so we would just kind of steady drop. Once things would slow down a little bit, drop the calories a little bit more. The lowest that I got down to was I got down to, I think it was 1,700. And
Oof.
that sucked. Yeah, that was some dark days. I think I had 3 days of that. And luckily for me, I'm a naturally, I'm a skinnier guy. Like naturally, it took a lot of work for me to actually get big. So, I didn't have to be in like such an extreme deficit for as long as maybe some people might have had to. And that's kind of what you're saying with the genetics. I definitely have much better genetics for bodybuilding than any of the other things that I decide to put myself through. So, but yeah, man,
You're not a marathon runner, bro. You're not
there
built
were
like a
days
marathon runner.
where I was in the gym with clients and I just had to apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have it today. Like, I'm gonna give you my best, but like I would drop something and look at it and be like, is it even worth picking this up right now? Like that's how like over it I was. It was definitely it was like a meditation almost. Like it just forced you to like feel things that you don't normally feel, and having to like still perform, like still be in the gym, still be working with clients, still be like doing the normal things, and then having these days like compounding on top of each other of just being very depleted. And it was definitely hard, but once I got through those was when I started getting closer to the show, and that was when we started to give me a little bit more food, a little bit more carbs. And so training definitely felt a lot easier. Mood, energy was a lot better. So kind of did like the dirty work early, and then leading up to the show kind of get, and that's the thing too, is like you want your body, you want your nervous system to be like good. You don't want to be just completely shot rolling into the show, because your body's not gonna cooperate with you. So I think like being on track, being on top of your game allows you to roll in and put yourself in a good position. And so that was what we did, and it worked. So
Yeah, dude. It's so funny. Like I hear you talk about this, and it's although the journeys are not exactly the same, like having a coach in all facets, I feel like is so similar in the communal aspect of coaching, because like your days of 1,700 calories are very similar to like Joey's days where he wakes up and it's like Christmas Eve and he's like, I don't want to go move today. And then he's like hitting his coach up, like trying to, and it's like, do you have somebody to lean on when you're waking up and you have that like motivational low? And it could be, I don't know, Sally's soccer practice is getting in the time in the way of your training and you had to do something else. And, you have option A is to communicate with your coach and let them know and hold yourself accountable. And option B is like kick it to the curb and then like don't do it, or try and do it on your own when things get tough. And it's like, dude, like leaning on somebody like that or a community of people like that is so important. And in the communication piece, I want to ask you, like, hey, when you're going through this journey, which you said was over a year long in total, probably like what, closer to 2 years, or at least a year and 10 months, if you wanted to say all of 2023, and then 2024 up until October. How often did you communicate to your coach specifically that was helping you kind of along the way? Because I think that's one thing that we stress here is just the importance of like being on the same page and communication. And hey, bro, like I'm going traveling, here's the equipment I have access to, let's make something work. Or hey, X, Y, or Z is happening in life, I can't get this workout in, let's move it to another day. I want to hear like how that went for you, and like do you guys set aside like 30 minutes to chat once a week? Like how does it kind of look on your front, and how do you feel most supported through that journey?
yeah, I think for me, this is a good example of like why we do what we do, and the importance of like putting yourself in this position, because there was times early on where I for sure should have communicated more, and then I would go and be like, why is so and so not like communicating with me on, his trip, and what, and then I'm like, well, I'm not, I need to be doing the things that I would expect, even though it's completely different situation. It's actually all the same. And so I definitely, as time went on, would lean on things more. And I would also do it as not only just the bad things, I would do it for like the wins too. I would be like, I would share like uh just little things like training or progress photo or something, and I would actually voice like that I was proud of that, or that I felt really good with this, instead of it just being like data. I think that's an important thing too, is like when you are sharing things, it doesn't always have to be like a desperation thing. Like it can be, hey, something good happened to me today, and maybe I don't always talk about this stuff with my family or with my friends. So you have a person that has mutual respect for you and understanding of what you did in order to get this outcome, and you can tell them that and they will be like fucking proud of you. Like that's
Yeah.
really important. So I did that, and then as I got closer to the show, definitely had more like calls of just like how I was feeling, energy levels, like sleep, recovery. We kind of looked at more facets of, okay, what are some of the low hanging fruit that we can maybe put more energy into to get the most out of this. And then once it got like really close, it was like daily. I was doing daily check-ins for like the last like 2 weeks or so. So we were like looking at how I looked in the morning versus at night. We were doing posing, practicing daily. I did a couple posing calls live, so like actually tweaking my positioning and things like that, to because I had no experience with that at all. So there was definitely a lot. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but like you said, it's when you get that low of calories, like your your willpower for little things goes so down that it's like really easy to like binge eat. Like it's really easy to just to throw it all away if something bad happened. And so to have somebody to go to and like keep you level and be like, hey, you know what? You've been grinding, like your training, your strength is like plummeting, your sleep isn't good. It doesn't make sense to keep you at 1700 tomorrow. Let's bump you up. Like, let's give you a little bit more carbs and see how you feel. And that actually happened to me, where we bumped up my calories and I lost like 3 pounds because my body was so stressed that once we gave me a little bit more food and I took an extra rest day, I let my body chill. I lost weight that I wasn't losing at lower calories. So for me to see that and witness that and experience that was really helpful for me working with clients, of just like understanding how much stress can affect this process, and how it's not always just about the calories in versus calories out. Like we do want to look at your fatigue levels, your recovery, your sleep, and that's something that deserves just as much attention as how your training and nutrition is. So that was pretty cool, I would say, for me to like see that firsthand.
Yeah, totally. The amount of systems that are kind of integrated in the body is pretty astronomical. And like you start to think about things like that where, you're sitting in fight or flight all the time, or the opposite could be true. You're like sitting in rest and digest all the time and you're not stressing your body when you kind of
Mm-hmm.
need that good stress on your body as well. Like it totally can affect it. Um,
Totally.
dude, talk about an awesome chat about that stuff. I love the chat about the bodybuilding show. I think that I can go down that rabbit hole with you for hours and talk about kind of those types of things. I want to pivot a little bit um, to what's going down, health life update for you. I want to hear how the your guys's like business and coaching and all that stuff is going. And then I kind of want to hear too, like, what's going down in True North, and then like what's next for you and what kind of professional development, personal development stuff you kind of got going on as well.
Yeah. No, it's been really cool. It's been this whole process going on simultaneously with growing the business and working with clients, like as you know, with everything that you've done, is um tricky. Uh, but it was cool because I felt like I would feel like a sense of guilt that I was not showing up with the energy that I wanted. I was a little bit more fatigued. I was putting more focus on myself than I normally don't do that. And it was cool of the amount of people that reached out that said just like they had been following along and were like inspired by what I did. And so that kind of like just reminded me of how much our actions speak to people. And it doesn't always necessarily have to be like a piece of content or like a conversation or like the normal things that we feel like we can put out to affect people. So that was pretty cool. It's everything is continuing on. So yeah, True North's been solid. Got a good group of guys in here that we've been really diving into just that holistic approach to everything. So that's always been the way that I roll, and being able to merge the two and understanding the concepts that we want to apply to achieve the physique that we want, or also what we need to apply just to be the best person. And really the way that my journey started with like seeking confidence, I realized that I'm not actually going to achieve that by looking a certain way. It's the traits and the qualities and the values that I pick up while doing that. And so that's something that I really talk about a lot with my guys. And um, I started doing like a little bit different idea too recently that I call the Guiding Principles Society, or GPS. So I made that as more of a low ticket option for kind of a group coaching style. And it's more focused on the daily habits and things like that than the fitness piece. I do have fitness included with it, but it's much more around kind of like that iron sharpens iron mindset of just being around people that are like-minded to you. And I'm providing like journal prompts and meditations and just things that a lot of us that are on this like go 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 high performer mentality, we often skip out on that little piece where we're actually pouring back into ourselves. So been having a lot of dialogue around that. um, Started that. We got the booty program that you mentioned.
Yeah,
That that
and
was
beach pumps, dude. I've been
easy.
seeing a bunch of like live you guys all getting together and doing some workouts on the beach too, and that seems like it's been going well also.
Yeah. So I've just been kind of looking at everything as like a test, and just not like being married to one thing. Not like really overthinking things, just seeing what people like, what people need. And so that was something I started doing, was weekly free beach workouts. And so I would been going out to Newport and just bringing equipment, and it's really more about the connection than the workouts. So that's the thing. I kind of pull the old switcheroo, put the dog medicine in the peanut butter, get them to come out to feel like they're gonna work out, and we do. But I love seeing people like hang around and like talk to a new person for like 20 minutes. And before you know it, the same people that are telling me that they've been struggling with, not having the right friend group, or their family doesn't really understand their desire to like improve themselves. Now they all of a sudden have like 5 new people that they got their phone number that they can reach out to, just because they came out to a workout. So that's really like what motivates me to do it. And to see that has been really cool. And then it's funny though, because as it gets colder, I know we're in California, but it does get a little cold at the beaches in the morning. So the closer we get to winter, the less people would be showing up to the beach workouts. And so I was like, all right, I might have to pivot. And so we did our first bonfire the other week, where we did an evening bonfire. And one of the girls brought like the ceremonial cacao, which is like a heart opener, kind of an ancient like ritual thing. It's just like hot chocolate kind of thing. So we did a little like open share, just kind of like talking about what our intentions were for the new year. And same thing, like a bunch of new people met for the first time. And so just been doing stuff like that, and just focusing on community, focusing on just providing opportunities for people to connect, and not have it be like going out to the bars, like having opportunities for people to do fun activities but like wake up in the next morning and like feel like ready to go train. That's something that I've been doing. And so, yeah, like the blend of the things online, with the online community and social media with the in-person opportunities to connect has been fun. I think that's something that has brought more like a spark to me, is just being around it, being in person with people, and being able to connect.
Yeah, dude, I love all that stuff, man. And we do some similar stuff where we've got like hybrid training happening with some people that are kind of pseudo online and pseudo in person, and it's
Mhm.
cool to be able to bring that together, and you feel like you end up building like a thing that you don't really want to let go of, you know? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's super interesting how it starts off with everybody being kind of strangers, and then you can kind of get to chatting and talking and do it like that. And it's definitely unique. We've started to do something in the app too, where I open like call for people that are in there, to where like I'll train on like a Saturday or Sunday, and it'll basically just be like, hey, you're gonna need a set of dumbbells this weekend, and then like anybody who's in the app can pop on there and do it, and they'll be suffering with me, and I'll be
Mm.
talking and probably like breathing heavy and shit in their ear. But what it does, it allows somebody to, be there and talk to you and interact with you, and be like part of that process. So not only the people in person here, but the online community too, and being able to kind of do that and just kind of live stream it, because at the end of the day, you're probably going to do it anyway, right? Like you might as well like have somebody kind of join in with you, or at
Mhm.
least give the option to. And if nobody does, then that's kind of up to them. But if people want to come and hang out and push themselves in a different way, and be coached like in that kind of direct, pointed way, it can be super effective too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've got two more big questions for you, and then I'm gonna have to let you go. Because I got people coming here to the house pretty soon to get after it here
Let's go.
on the second. Yeah.
Let's go.
But my two big questions. First of it, you talked a lot about kind of your journey, health, wellness, fitness in general. And you're like, hey, you know, I've been like bodybuild prep and training kind of like this for a while. And I'm curious, like, if somebody came away or came up to you and like took that away, like took away your body that you've built, stripped kind of that stuff down to like who you are you somebody at this point, based on your kind of mental principles, that you could build that stuff back? And I ask that question because I think that there's a lot of people that work with us that they want me to give them, and I don't have access to this, so this is just totally a saying, but like they want me to give them Michael Jordan's training program, but like their mindset is not yet Michael Jordan, so they won't be able to execute the same way he does. So I'm curious, like, somebody takes it all away and they're like, hey, Brady, you're going back to 15 years ago. And you're starting from square one. Like, can you get back to today? Can you push yourself beyond and then be even better? And oh, by the way, I would venture to guess that you say that you can do it quicker, but I want to hear kind of your thoughts.
So I get to go back, but I know what I know now.
Now. You're hardened and seasoned, and your mental state now is where it is.
Uh-huh.
But your physical body is not the same. You're back to Brady, who's 140 pounds, soaking wet, and playing basketball, and as like a high school kid or whatever.
Yeah.
What kind of happens? Can you build it back?
Oh yeah. I would definitely be able, I think I would do it faster. Um, but I have a much different, that's a really good question. I definitely have a really different outlook on it, because you know what? I actually maybe wouldn't do it faster, because the way that I was doing things was out of like, it was out of like self-hate instead of self-love. I think where I'm at now is a much different approach, and I was doing things that, yes, I was getting results, because I was training really freaking hard. I was reading every day. I would go on bodybuilding.com forums, and I was reading everything. I was taking everything in. I was learning. I was training hard, but it was like I was using it as like a drug. I was using it as my escape for what I was going through, for what I felt. And instead of like dealing with that and like allowing myself to feel things. And so I learned later um, how to kind of balance the two. But I think that's something that a lot of people do. And there's like, I think there's no problem with it starting out that way, because I think that's really how it starts, is like you aren't happy and you want to make a change. But at some point in that journey, it has to shift into you are choosing to pour into yourself to better yourself instead of like punishing yourself, instead of,
Yeah,
you know? So I
100%.
think,
Like,
yeah.
totally agree. I think like it's so funny. I feel like everybody kind of has the realization, but you can't have the realization for somebody else. Like
Mhm.
you could sit here and say this, right? And I could be somebody listening, just like, this guy is full of shit, dude. Like, listen to the way that he's talking about this thing, and like
Mhm.
this, listen to how like it's because he's got it already. You know, it's already because he's jacked. I mean, look at the photos. You look up Brady Hutchins and look at how shredded this dude was at the show. The dude was absolutely looking like he was taking a ton of juice, and making it happen. And I'll say like somebody else would be like, must be nice to say that, but like, yeah, I've felt it too, where like you don't really start to make that happen until you internalize and it just becomes like who you are, and then you want to help other people get there. Like, and
Mhm.
that's the other thing too, is like you can be like a like guide or shepherd or somebody giving directions for somebody else, but they've got to be able to take the wheel and then do a bit of the internal work too. So, dude,
Yeah.
I totally agree with what you're saying, and I think I probably would do it differently if it were me, than the way I was, ego lifting and trying to pick up chicks when I was a 15 to 16
Yeah.
or 15 to, we'll say, 22-year-old, like
Yeah.
where it was only about those things. And I think, having the small bit of wisdom here as I almost turn the page to 30 this year, it's like, I think that taking some of that information and being like, this is good stuff to know, and then applying it in a way that, like you say, comes from a place of like, hey, I'm moving today because it's what makes me feel good. It's what makes me feel good. It's what I need. And it's how I'm going to continue to perform and be my best for my family, for my wife, for my, everything else. So yeah, I totally agree, man. Cool. I got to ask you one last question and then I'm going to let you go. Books, man. I know you're a big reader. I'm a big
Mhm.
reader too. I haven't told anybody this yet. I've been meaning to. And for people that have been following, maybe they know already. But I hit my 52 books last year. So I tried to do average one a week for the entire year of 2024. And I actually did 53. And I was actually halfway through, or a little over halfway through, two other ones. So it was almost like 53 and 54-ish for the full year. But I wanted to hear about if you had any book recommendations, stuff that you've been reading recently, because it seems like you're somebody who I think could give somebody some value in kind of what you're consuming to be able to
Mhm.
kind of help move the needle.
Yeah. No, you're a savage, dude. You you inspired me. I got to 20. My goal is 25. I got to 27, I think.
Attaboy.
So I wrote down them all. But yeah, and I made myself not do audio. Well, like some
Yeah,
I would do audio
all of
and
mine were were paper and or Kindle too. So
yeah,
I didn't do any audiobooks.
yeah, you're a savage, dude. I I got into a lot of different stuff, but definitely more of like I was on much more of like a spiritual journey this year. Um, I would say I got this Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
classic. Think and Grow Rich. I got into kind of some masculinity stuff. The Way of the Superior Man is one that I've had a lot of my guys read, who are looking to like build themselves up to the person that's going to attract their ideal partner or just be a better man. And understand the beginning is much more like personal, and I think it's like something that like an entrepreneur would like really benefit from, of learning how to follow your truth and trust your vision. And then the second part is much more like relationship, and understanding like polarity and just things like that. So that was one I've had a lot of guys really be able to apply. Trying to think. I got I like
I only needed one, dude. You're
uh,
rattling off a bunch now. I'm gonna have to make you text it over to me now.
I'll text you. Well, we can talk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, those two were two that I would say I like to like start people off with. And then there's a lot, but those are, you can't go wrong right there. So
Yeah,
there's two good
I
ones.
dig it, man. All right, man. I'm gonna let you give yourself a quick plug. I don't know when your booty boot camp, booty challenge is kicking off, but I want you to talk it up, chat it up. Sorry we waited till the end. I feel like we should have entered and began with that. But for the real listeners out here, maybe you can give them like half off or something like that, and let
Yeah,
it ride.
for sure. Yeah. Social media, just Hutch Fit Coaching, and I'm doing a little January challenge. This one's actually like geared more to the ladies, which is a little different than what I normally do. But a little bit of a focus on building glutes, but I also talk about a lot of how to eat to build muscle, kind of going through some of the mental hurdles that we run into this journey, and some of the breath work, pelvic floor work, stuff like that. So you can find that in my Instagram. And then I also have the GPS program, which is just a lower cost group training thing. So if you looking for more of that support and really kind of like going more into that inner work, that's a lot of what I do there. So appreciate the support, appreciate you guys listening, and this is an exciting time of the year. So let's start off with that right energy.
Yeah, for anybody else who's made it this far, like if I didn't have 50,000 coaches, dude, I would hire this man. So let it be known, like if you're anybody, and I don't know, it should probably say a lot about you if you value my opinion. Maybe you shouldn't. Be a little bit wiser. But Brady has it going on, man. He's attacks health from the right lens. If you're looking to kind of get into the bodybuilding splits and styles of training, man, the dude does a great job with all of his people. And go check him out. Let his page kind of speak for itself. And then if you guys have any questions or need a referral, definitely let me know, and I can send you his maybe I won't send you his phone number, but we'll at least get you in contact with him. I don't want to do that to you, dude. I don't want creeper people hitting you up out of nowhere, asking for pictures of your feet. We don't need it.
No,
Everyone has a price, though, buddy. Everyone has a price.
My next business, though, this 2025. Foot pics.
That's right, dude. Remember, everyone has a price.
That's
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on, dude. I honestly, like, we need to do it more often. I'm glad we got to catch up some. I almost want to set like a recurrent, like, hey, once a month, let's make this thing happen or something like that, because I just love the chat. But we'll catch up soon. Let me know if you guys have any questions for me. But thanks for listening, and until next time, you don't stop playing because you get old. You get old because you stop playing. Peace out.